Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. My name is Bronwyn and we are the Impromptu Immigrants, and it is a very rainy, dull day. But before we start, I just wanted to say this. If you've ever moved countries or even just felt caught between two places, then this video is for you. This isn't a video about visas or logistics. It's about the quiet parts of immigration that no one really talks about. People talk a lot about the big parts of immigration. The visas, the packing, the goodbyes at the airport. They talk about bravery, about courage, about starting again. But there's a quieter part, a part that doesn't fit neatly into Instagram captions or highlight reels. And no one really warns you about it. That's what I want to talk about today. At first, immigration is loud. Every day is filled with new accents, new systems, new rules you don't yet understand. It takes time to understand the Irish way of doing things, the Irish way of saying things. Learning that grand doesn't always mean great. That I will, yeah, doesn't always mean right now or ever. That a phone call doesn't end at goodbye. It ends with bye, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye, bye. You learn to listen between the words, to read tone, to pick up meaning that isn't said out loud. You're constantly alert, constantly learning, constantly catching up. And then one day, the noise stops. There's no announcement, no clear moment. You just realize that life has settled into a rhythm, and that rhythm is very quiet. And maybe that's the moment it really starts. Not when you arrive, not when the boxes are unpacked, but when you realize that while you've been busy building a new life, the old one hasn't been waiting. You open your phone and you see it. Close friends, the ones you used to see almost every day, the ones you spoke to without thinking, now feel distant. Not because anything went wrong, but because time and distance quietly reshaped everything. You watch their lives carry on, family gatherings you're no longer part of, holidays at the beach, or up in the Berg, happening without you. You see the photos, the smiling faces, the laughter frozen in a moment you weren't there for. Even small traditions, like meeting up with a work friend every Thursday, calling it Puza Thursday. These still happen, but you aren't there to share it. Little rituals, full of laughter, banter, and the simple joy of being together. You watch from afar, and you realize just how much you miss the ordinary rhythm of life back home. And of course you're happy for them, you really are. But there's also a longing that sits just under the surface. A longing for your children to grow up with their cousins, to know their grandparents in the everyday way, not just through screens and scheduled calls, for the small, ordinary things you never thought you'd miss. Dropping in at a friend's house unannounced, just for a quick cuppa. Sitting at a kitchen table with your mum that feels like home without having to explain yourself. Those moments don't happen anymore. And it's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's just quietly gone. And when you can't quite explain that loss, when there's no clear word for it, that's when it turns into something else, something heavier, something harder to place. That's when you realize this isn't just missing people, it's grief. No one tells you that immigration comes with grief, because nothing bad happened. You chose this. You're grateful. You're safe. So how do you explain the sadness? It's grief without a funeral, grief without permission, grief that shows up in ordinary moments. a smell, a song, a phrase. Sometimes you notice it in the world around you. Stories in the news about immigrants being blamed, criticized, or told they don't belong. Even if it's not directed at you personally, it can make you pause and wonder how your place in this new home will be received. And yet, slowly, you realize that belonging isn't defined by headlines. It's in the life you build, the love you carry, and the connections you nurture along the way. And suddenly, your chest feels heavy, and you don't quite know why. At some point, you realize something has changed. You start introducing yourself differently, explaining your accent, clarifying where you're from and why. You become the South African one, or the immigrant, or the family who moved. And slowly, without noticing, you stop being who you were. But you're not fully who you're becoming either. You're in between. You learn how to carry two places at once. One lives in your memories, in food, in humor, in how you say certain words. The other lives in your present, in routines, in schools, in weather, in accents that are starting to feel familiar. You don't replace one with the other, you carry both. And some days that weight feels manageable, other days it feels heavy. For children, immigration looks different. They adapt faster, they belong quicker, they sound like here sooner than you do. And that's beautiful. But there's a quiet moment, often when you're not expecting it, when you realize they're growing roots in a place that wasn't yours first. They're becoming something new, and you're learning to let that be okay. What helped wasn't pretending it was all perfect, or forcing gratitude every time sadness showed up. What helped was letting both exist, missing home and building a new one, grief and hope, longing and belonging, understanding that feeling torn doesn't mean you've made the wrong choice. It means you've loved deeply. If you're feeling this, you're not broken. You're not ungrateful. You're not failing at immigration. You're just human. If this resonated, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If you're new here, welcome. You're not alone.